Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in this amazing world. Welcome to No More Noise radio podcast, shining the light and silencing distraction. I am so glad you joined us. We've got a great episode for you today with Gina Bermudo, an amazing Filipino with a heart of gold and a mission to help people live in the blessing beyond disability. Who knows, you might even hear me learn Tagalog, the language of the Philippines, over the weeks to come. We'll just have to see about that, but shh, don't tell my Filipino wife. If you missed our last episode with Krista Piper and her journey as one of 13 siblings, a military chaplain, and founder of the Faithful Fitness Movement, go grab a listen on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube for the video podcast at no.more.noise. And you won't want to miss next week's episode where we talk with Justin Boyum, founder of Charge Forward, a movement helping people dream, conquer, and become, emphasizing extreme ownership. His message to be fearless as you conquer adversity and become victorious is nothing short of pure motivation. That's next week, releasing on Thursday. Now to today's show. Stay tuned and lock it in right here.
Life is a matter of perspective. If you want to look at it as a problem, then it becomes a problem. If you want to look at it as a blessing, then it becomes a blessing. Have the attitude of gratitude always, because God will always be there. You're there for a reason. If you ask me now, what did I learn in my journey with autism? Now, I will only answer you in one sentence. I learned that I am capable of loving unconditionally.
Have you ever felt like you wanted to give up? Have you found yourself at a crossroad, walking through chaos, failure, disappointment, contemplating the loss of your dream and wondering where the fire that once burned inside your heart has gone? Have you traded your happiness and joy for a life of going through the motions or questioned your very existence? If that's you, don't go anywhere. This is No More Noise, a show dedicated to encouragement, hope, and inspiration. I'm your host, Dale Antrim, and I am on a heartfelt mission to help others overcome the noise that keeps them from living their best life. So stay with us as we unravel mindsets, shatter perceptions, and rise above discouragement. Together, we'll discover actionable steps, strategies, and resources to silence distractions, amplify achievements, awaken the dormant dreams within you, and unleash your impact on the world. I'm glad you're here. So let's turn down the noise, turn up the possibility, and dive into the extraordinary. This is No More Noise. Thank you for joining us here at No More Noise. I'm Dale Antrim. I'm your host, and we have a really good show here right now. Gina Luna Bermudo is with us, and I just want to invite Gina to the call with us to this time. We're so excited to have you with us, Gina. How are you today?
I'm good, Dale. Thank you for having me. Good evening to where you are, and across the Pacific, it's good morning. And
Yes.
again, I feel truly honored and humbled to be here. Thank you.
Well, we are so blessed to have you. Those of you who don't know, Gina is a Filipina, and she resides right now in Manila proper. She lives with her husband and her two sons, and just an amazing story of resilience, of hope, of courage, and we're just so blessed to have the opportunity. Did you have a good Christmas?
Yes, I had a very, very good Christmas. Usually Christmas is a family time for all of us. It's we spend time praying and thanking God for all the blessings.
Oh, so wonderful, so wonderful. Well, Gina, I got to tell you, when I made the acquaintance of you, I have told you since day one that, those of you who are listening to this audio, you won't be able to experience the visual part of this, but I got to tell you, Gina is the face of joy and peace and God's love. I tell you, it touches your heart and inspires you. But we just want to hear your story. I'm excited to hear about what you're doing and to tell us more about the work that you're doing so that we can really support you in that message, in that ministry, in that, your motivation. So, Gina, let's just start with, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and what your life has been like up to this point.
Okay, Dale, before I go there, first, let me just tell you something. Initially, I was so scared to tell my story. I was so scared that nobody will listen, that nobody will make fun of my story, or nobody will take it seriously. Then my husband told me, "Go ahead, Gina. Everybody has a story to tell. You have a story to tell. I have a story to tell. Everyone has a story to tell. If one will listen to your story, then that's it. You already made your quota, you already made an impact." So that's how it started. Then slowly, slowly, I began to share my story. So now,
And I find that's beautiful, because one of the things that I have said many times is that each one of us has a unique story.
exactly.
We have a unique voice to share that story, and we have a unique audience that needs to hear that story.
Yeah.
And so I love what you just said about having a story and having that special thing on the inside of you. What helped you overcome your fear of sharing the story?
Prayers, faith in God, that probably God gave me a story to tell. So that's
It's
how
so
it started.
amazing.
Then slowly I began to tell my stories to small group and then bigger group and then bigger group. And by the time I realize it, I'm enjoying telling my story. So
Wow. Wow. Well, for those of you that don't know, Gina is an advocate for autism, but also many different. I mean, she talks about blessing beyond disability, and, the encouragement that we can have. And I know that that has not been easy. You actually shared with me, and as I shared with the audience just a few minutes ago, you have two sons that reside with you, and they have multiple disabilities. Is that correct?
yes, yes, Dale.
I'm
You're
I'm
correct.
sure that has not always been easy to live with that. How have you found the courage to kind of I'm going to use the words that most of us would, yeah, deal with that? How do you process that?
Well, I don't know. Probably it started with acceptance. No,
Mm,
I accepted everything. Then it became my normal.
yeah.
Yeah, because like I told you before, that probably God has a mission for me. This is not what I wanted initially. I would rather, do work with people oriented work, but not like this, probably event organizing or things like that. But you know God had other plans for me, and what I did was just to follow, listen, follow, oblige, and comply to whatever it is that he wants me to do.
So Gina, you had shared with me that your sons are 28 and 25. Have they always had these disabilities?
Yes, yes, they were
Yes.
diagnosed early, because for autism you can see the symptoms as early as 1 year and 8 months.
Okay. Okay. So you have been walking this journey for a very long time. You've been walking this journey for nearly, what is that, 20 years or more?
More than 20 years. My son is 20. My eldest is 28, and he was diagnosed like when he was 2. So probably now I'm into this world, beautiful world of autism for now 26 years.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. So before you had your children, what was your life like? Have you always lived in the Philippines?
No, we live abroad, but to answer your first question, where was I from? And I was born in Cagayan Valley. It's a picturesque region with ruggedly mountainous and heavily forested provinces now in the northern part of the Philippines. And I
Wow. Well, for those of you of my listeners who don't know, I'm married to a beautiful Filipina. Her name is Annalyn, and she is from Tuguegarao, and that is a city in the northern Philippines. And it is Cagayan Valley, and that is basically the same region that you're from. Is that correct, Gina?
exactly, and we grew up together. so
Oh,
so that's how
wow.
I got to know
Okay.
it.
So
So
you can tell me
then,
all the secrets about Anna.
yeah. No, it's up to her with permission. If she gives me the permission, yeah, go ahead. But I'll only give you the happy ones. But we spend a lot of good times together. I had good and happy memories with Anna. So there, like me, like no, I was raised in Cagayan Valley, but
Okay.
in a Filipino household with a Western bloodline. So
Oh,
just in
wow.
case you
Okay.
know that, yeah. So my descendants from my paternal side are from Europe. So they originated from a small village called Luna in the Spanish province of Zaragoza. That's why my family name is Luna. My
Oh,
maiden
that's
name is
beautiful. I
Luna.
was going to ask you that.
Yeah,
Did that have a part into play you getting that name?
yeah. It's called Luna is moon in Spanish. So my great grandfather traveled to the Philippines to look for his relatives assigned to the country during the Spanish colonization. But during his visit, he fell in love with the Philippines, my Filipina Spanish great grandmother, and the rest is history.
Oh, well, I can tell you it's not difficult to fall in love with the Philippines, nor is it difficult to fall in love with a Filipina.
Yes, I do agree. I completely agree with you. So there. Again, let me just talk something about our community in Tuguegarao. So since we all belong to the same, shall I say, ethnicity, because we all spoke the same dialect, which is Ilocano. So everyone there treated each other like family. So elders were treated with respect and they were called tito or uncle or tita or auntie or lolo, great grandfather, or lola, grandmother, even if they were not relatives. So when children gathered, so the elders, they join us with their folklore and share some nuggets of wisdom. So we also played on the streets with traditional Filipino games. So there. So we had like our toys, our games, we had unlimited organic resources driven by imagination. So it allows us to invent games using available materials and natural and organic materials were used creatively. So it was so different then, Dale. So we played with mostly organic things. So that's how our creativity was developed.
Well, it's so beautiful. And I find of course I've traveled, I've been in the Philippines, I've been in India. I have a great heart for really changing lives in those countries. And I found that, I went to India for a not completely a technology reason, and I found myself being captured in the heart by the children, and
Oh,
it changed the trajectory of my life. And I really have a desire to help rescue those children, and to do things to help them. And but what I found in going into some of these orphanages that are in India and things like that, I found that the children there really don't have the materialism that we have, the materialistic things, the toys, the electronics, the phones, the all of these things that some might call distractions,
yeah,
that we have nowadays, that make our life better but also take away so many good things. And I would
yeah,
watch these children, they'd be on the street, a dirt street, playing with a single red ball, or playing with homemade toys, and playing with things that they created with their
yeah.
own hands, and they were so happy. They had so much peace.
Mhm.
It just really touched my heart, and I feel like that's what I'm hearing you say, that in your childhood it was a different time, a different era, a different world.
Exactly, because nowadays the tactile, the tactile senses of the kids are compromised because what they do is just playing computers, gadgets. So again, they only touch the screen. What about the
Mm,
other materials? What about the other surfaces? So
mm.
touching other material also feeds the brain. So if our tactile exposures are limited, then again, also the brain input is also limited.
Oh, so I think it's so fascinating, and I know that we'll talk a little bit more about this in a moment, because I know that in your advocacy for autism, and the just the amazing things that you've done and been a part of, and the heart you have for families and helping families survive. We talked about that, I think, previously in our pre-interview, where we were talking about. I said, a lot of families fall apart. They can't handle the stress, or they don't
Yeah.
know how to get through it, and they don't survive. And so you have a heart to help families survive, help families make it, and actually really find the blessing beyond the disability, right? So, but before we get there, your life was, a lot of people can say, oh, my life was bad, and then I came to good things, or my life was good, and then it crushed, and I whatever. Your life wasn't bad. It wasn't a journey of destruction to deliverance. It was more of a um you had a good life, right? I mean, tell us a little bit about that prior to maybe your marriage, coming into the marriage and coming into the birth of your children.
Yeah, first I would like to discuss my education first because my education helped me a lot to where I am now. No, like I said, I came from Tuguegarao, and in that town, your passport out of poverty is education. Okay.
Mm,
If you want to be successful, if you want to make a name for yourself, then you have to take your education seriously. So that
mm,
that that, that is our thinking. No? That is our thinking in the north. So now again, my education, Dale, is very diverse. It's very diverse, which I like. You know, my elementary education, I spent it in a rural public school. Okay. Here, during the first two grade levels, the language of instruction is the local dialect, while English and Tagalog, our national language, were taught from third grade onwards. So again, it's a small town, and most of my classmates and teachers, we all live in the same area. So our cultural exposure is limited to homogeneous interaction. So I like that because there it developed my trust, and then I wasn't uh, exposed to the real life right away, but my exposure to limited cultural my limited cultural exposure initially strengthened me. It strengthened me. It uh, it made me learn my culture even more. So after graduating from elementary, my parents enrolled me in a private Roman Catholic coeducational high school. That's where I met Anna. Okay. This high school was run by Sisters of St. Paul. So this is outside our community because Anna and I, we both stayed in the a dormitory inside the school run by the Sisters of St. Paul's. So that school was the center of education in the rural areas. So most of students in the nearby town and provinces, they go there to study. Why? Because in this institution, again, I speak from my own perspective, my education was firmly rooted in Catholic beliefs. So, and respectful of others' creeds and cultures, here they taught us. And it was my first formal exposure to various regional cultures and traditions. So, gradually, my world is opening up. Okay. And then in adulthood, I moved to Metro Manila. So, it's a very, very cosmopolitan city. So, this is where I took my college education. So it is the complete opposite of where I came from. So it is highly urbanized, densely populated, and a melting pot of diverse cultures locally and internationally. So
Does
see,
does Manila have a stronger population of expats and so
yes,
on? Yeah, so
yes,
it's a very strong foreign mix.
exactly. That's why here my parents enrolled me at the Ateneo de Manila. So it's one of the best private schools, so whose vision and mission are grounded in the Jesuit educational tradition. So of engaging with the world by being a man and woman for others. See where I'm coming from?
Mm,
So man and woman for others. Here in Ateneo, social engagement is a significant part of the Ateneo education. And here, aside from having, again, this is where the global education came in. Aside from having American, Japanese, and Indian professors, the university hosts visiting faculty, research fellows from institution abroad to prepare students for global integration. See, even when I was still in the Philippines, I was already exposed globally. And then
wow.
obviously, of course, again, so that was my world then, but global integration. However, like I said, God has a way of re-landscaping my life.
Well, I
And
think
then,
he has a way of he
yeah.
does that to most of us. He takes us through a journey
So
and things.
at this point in my life, again, I had no idea that the word autism even existed. So
Oh,
I didn't know how it looked like. So I didn't know anything about it. So my focus then was global integration. So,
Now, did you find your schooling was leading in that direction as well? You were focusing more globally in that global integration that you were talking about?
yeah, I thought so because after I graduated from the university, I went abroad. So I worked and stayed in different countries. That was before I met my husband and before my children's diagnosis.
Okay. Okay. So you came from a wonderful family with a very, I guess, in comparison to many Filipinos, a more established, cultural existence. You came from a good family, a good education, and a good system of support.
Yes.
And then you were preparing to go into the world to live your life. And tell me what happened, like as how did you meet your husband, and where did you meet him?
Meeting my husband is it's a very funny story. I was based abroad. I was based in Thailand, and he was based in Europe. We didn't know each other, but
Is
he
your
was
husband European or is he Filipino?
Filipino, but he was just working there at that time.
Okay.
And we were here. We were on vacation, but he he was a family friend like for so many years, no? Because he was the classmate of my aunt in college. So I was there for vacation, and he was there. We were both in the Philippines at the same time, and my aunt said, "Okay, I have my niece here, and she's not going out. She's just staying home. Why don't you take her out?" And then he said, "This is what he said. Oh, today is Friday. No one is taking her out. She is probably very, very ugly." Okay. So that's what he said. She's probably very, very ugly. Okay. If she's ugly, I'll not treat you for dinner. But it was a joke. And then when he saw me, he said, the moment that he saw me, he said he fell in love. But he didn't this was his word. Okay, he said, "I never believed in love at first sight, but when I saw you, my entire body short circuited." So he said he experienced.
Wow.
And he said, but he didn't tell me. He only told me this after 2 years. And he said, "The moment I saw you, I knew that you will be my wife, but I don't know how to do it." So, but he didn't tell me that. He only told me that after 2 years. Now we were friends for a long time, and then after 2 years, he only told me that. Then again, the rest is history. so,
Wow. What an amazing story. How long was it after you met that you got married?
like 2 years, more than 2 years. But now we're happily married for 31 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you. Thank
beautiful,
you so much.
beautiful. So you said that you had two sons, 28 and 25. So that means you were married after 2 years and then 2 years later had your first son.
I think
Um, d-
3 years, 3 years
three
later.
years.
Yeah.
So did you know right away that your son was autistic, or was that something that was an encounter that you?
No, it's again, we were caught off guard, not with the autism, but with the other disabilities. Okay. You know, when we got married, we said, okay, let's not have a baby first because having a baby is a very, very big responsibility. We need to prepare ourselves psychologically, emotionally, and financially. That's why it took us 3 years to have the baby. And besides, we wanted to travel. Now, it was a very happy life, Dale. I couldn't ask for more. And one day, I prayed to God. I prayed to God for a blessing. Yeah, and God answered my prayers. He gave me not one, but two boys with autism. So that's when the change
Wow.
became a catalyst of my life. So, however, this is how it started. At that time, my husband was in Europe, my family is in the US, I was in the Philippines. I was pregnant. Then I said, no, there's no one with me here, so I will go to the States where my mom was at that time. So I went to the US. That's where I gave birth. So I gave birth to a very, very beautiful boy, a blessing, a bundle of joy. Then after I gave birth, I came back home to the Philippines. And then when my son was like 1 year and 4 months, I think, my mom requested that I bring him back to the US. So while my son was in the US, He was playing outside with his cousins, normally playing. Then my mother noticed that he was intermittently pinching his right eyelid. Okay, and then my mom said, why don't you check? There's probably a deposit there, or a dirt or something. And I checked, there was none. So I told my mom, don't worry, as soon as we go back to the Philippines, I'll have him checked. So when we came back to the Philippines, I immediately took him to an eye doctor. And again, Dale, imagine this. You have a son, 1 year, first baby, 1 year and 4 months, brought him to the doctor for a regular checkup. And this is what the doctor told me, after checking him. And he said, Gina, I'm so sorry to tell you. No, Gina and Lito, my husband. No? Gina and Lito, I am so sorry to tell you that your son's retina has been detached. Okay, then, that, I don't know what I felt at the time, but I became numb. So I asked him, will he go blind? He said, no, don't worry. I can always reattach it. But I need to do it under general anesthesia. So we had no choice. So he needed to check. No? So we scheduled for a checkup. And then when he did the checkup, while waiting for a result, they'll, like a minute is like eternity. So he checked him in the OR, and when he came out, and he said, I'm so sorry to tell you that the retina was not only detached, it warped, no, beyond repair. And we asked him, what is the solution? And he said, you have 3 days to decide, because if we don't enucleate meaning to remove, if we don't enucleate the eye, the cancer cell will transfer to the other eye, because that is
Wow.
bilateral. And I didn't know what to do. My world started to collapse, and I started crying. And then my husband told me, no, do not cry. We need to think clearly, because if you cry, we cannot really think. So what do we do? So we said we cannot do our research together. You do your own, I will do my own. So we split the topic. He said that the eye warped beyond repair. So my husband said, okay, no, let's stay focused. Let's stay focused for a while. You do your research and I will do mine. So we had to call doctors abroad. We had to, to really ask for a second, third, fourth, fifth opinion, because, from having a very happy, normal, healthy child, then all of a sudden, in a split second, you hear this. And you were just going there for a routine checkup. So I
I
didn't know
cannot
what hit me.
imagine.
I really didn't know what was going on. I really didn't know what was going on. And then when we did our research, yeah, all the doctors in Canada, in the US, in Asia, they had the same recommendation, which was to enucleate or remove the right eye. So again, we had no choice. We had
And
to go
how
through
old
the
was your son at this time again?
1 year and 4 months.
Oh,
Okay, and aside from the issue with the optic, aside from the issue with the lens, he had an optic nerve glioma, meaning there is a tumor surrounding his optic nerve. So for them to be able to remove the tumor cell, they have to enucleate, meaning remove the entire eyeball along with, I don't know, length, certain length of the optic nerve. So they had to do that. And so again, like I said, we had no choice. We had to go through it. But again, my even up to now, Dale, that happened like 26 years ago. But if I think about it now, I still get emotional, because
of course.
my experience then, even up to now, when I look back at it, it's too profound for words. I really don't have the words for it. So okay, go. So we went ahead with the surgery. And if you can see your son at 1 year and 4 months, who cannot even express pain, you can see his eye all covered. And it really hit me to the core. So what happened was, in order to make things feel better, in order to make him feel better, I remember we asked permission from the hospital if we can recreate his room in the house. So we brought his his beddings, his toys, we brought it to the hospital, and they agreed. So after the surgery, we took him home. But again, as a mother, the more painful part is seeing your son with a hollow eye.
Mm.
So my husband is also suffering in his silence. I can tell. And that was so difficult for both of us. And at that time in the Philippines, we didn't have any ocularist. Okay. An ocularist is someone that makes prosthesis or artificial eye. At that time, we didn't have any ocularists in the Philippines. So I had to check, and I found one in the US, a very good one, but it was parallel Rodeo Drive. And you know how expensive it is in California in Rodeo Drive. So I told my husband, no, even if we had to sell things, no, I needed to get that eye, artificial eye. So we took him to the US, and we took that artificial eye. Then I also took him to UCLA Jules Stein Eye Institute for checkup, and they said the surgery was done very well, and I was so happy. And then after that, we went to take his prosthesis. We had it measured, ordered it, and we got it. And when I saw it, I really cried. It looked so beautiful that you cannot tell if it's artificial or not. So
Mm.
once we had that, I took him back to the Philippines. Then we started to build our lives again. So while building our lives there, like a few months after, he was in school, and the school directress called me because he went to an infant school. It's a school for infants from 6 months onward. So the directress called me and he said, "Oh, we're noticing something different from him. Can you get a checkup? Can you go to a developmental pediatrician and have a checkup or an evaluation?" Which I did. And then again, he was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. But again, at that time, to me, I can accept any diagnosis, no, coming from a life and death situation. Any diagnosis, I can accept it as long as it doesn't compromise his health, his life. Then I'm okay with it. So again, we started to build our, therapy program on what to do and all these things. And then one day, so while we were slowly building our lives back to being normal, I experienced a pain in my stomach. So I went for a checkup, and the doctor said that, "Oh, you have a gallstone. No, you might have an attack anytime." So I said, "No, I cannot afford to have an attack. Remove the gallstone." So I had the surgery immediately because I need to take care of my son. I cannot afford to be sick. Unfortunately, like after the surgery, I found out I was 3 months pregnant.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know. And then my friends and family were telling me, "Wow, how how come you didn't know?" And I said, "How come I didn't know? I didn't know what was going on for the past few months. So I didn't even know how I got pregnant. I didn't even know I was pregnant." But at that time, Dale, again, my faith was. But here, I never questioned God. From the Nicholas, from the surgery up to the present, I never questioned God. Okay, but this is different. Now, I found out I was pregnant, and then one day I had profuse bleeding, that I was bedridden. At that time, I did not question God. I prayed. I prayed to God, "God, please, okay, if you want this baby, you get it now. But if you want that baby for me, then give it to me." So that was my deal to God. Give it to me and I'll take care of him. Again, whether he is autistic or not, I will take care of him. So true enough, I gave birth. I gave birth to a beautiful boy, my second son. His name is Alexander. Beautiful boy. So
Beautiful name.
yeah, he's breath of fresh air. But again, that name is funny because my my first son, his name is Nicholas. Now we named him after the last Tsar of Russia. And my second son, I thought that she's a girl. So I wanted to name him Alexandra. But when he came out, he's a boy. So I have no time. I had no backup name. So I said, okay, I'll just name him Alexander. So when he went out of the hospital, he was wearing pink and mint green because we thought that she was a girl. And then here came a boy. So he went out. So I said, okay, he will hate me when he grow up because, he was in pink and mint green. A very girly, girly thing when he went out of the hospital. So that's how it happened. So anyway, again, after, I don't know, a few months, can no longer remember, but after a few months, he was also diagnosed with ADHD and Marfan syndrome.
Wow. So now you have two children
Yeah, with multiple
suffering
disabilities. With
mul-
multiple disabilities.
multiple disabilities. What did that do to your family environment? How did your husband take that, and how did you as a couple navigate that
Now,
in your marriage?
again, I select what I said. You have to look beyond the disability to see the blessings. So, what are the blessings now at this point? Here, I saw the blessing that my husband is very supportive man. He is very supportive, and at that time, no, our children became the center of our lives. And he even told me, no, don't worry, Gina. Maybe God loves us so much that he gave us two paragons, to take care of. Consider it as a cosmic lottery that we won it twice. And that's how he
It's a wonderful way to look at it.
yeah. So that's what he said. However, again, we agreed that, you know, autism should not define who we are. Okay. Autism should not also uh, prevent us from being happy.
Mm,
Okay. So what we did is, okay, in order to again navigate autism while keeping our sanity intact, we have an autism free day. That is once a week. We don't discuss autism. We go out on a date, and then we just go and spend time for each other, without checking the child regularly, without, how are they, what are they doing. So what we do is we use that time for ourselves. We use that moment for us. It's just for him and for me. So it's autism free day. So we focus on each other. We go.
that's really a beautiful concept. I think for many couples that there is a pandemic of couples who experience disability in their children and in their lives, that a lot of these relationships end up in divorce and separation because they don't know how to navigate the difficulty and the suffering that's going on. And a lot of them, they don't really process through the grief, and find the blessing, as you say, um, the blessing that's beyond the disability, right? And so I think it's amazing, and I love that what you did is you created an autism free day or disability free day where you and your husband are focusing on your relationship. It's a date day
Yeah.
where you guys are free to really love each other, away from the anchors or the what would you call them, the snags of the pulls that come from having to take care of the disability children.
Exactly, because Dale, we have to, whether our children are neurodivergent or neurotypical, it's still, the husband and the wife at the end of the day. So we shouldn't forget that.
I just think it's beautiful because I know couples who have struggled. I know couples who have had autistic children, and I know couples who are no longer together because it was just so much of a strain, and
Yeah.
they did not find the peace that in this journey that I hear coming from you in this story.
that's why from the very beginning, my husband and I agreed that autism should not define who we are, and we should not consider autism as, you know, not normal, because to me now this is my normal. I define my normal. So having two boys with multiple disabilities to me is normal. So I define my environment, I define what I want, I define what is normal, I define my own happiness. So in order for me to do that, there has to be acceptance and self-love, because how can you love others if you don't know how to love yourself? So how
Mm.
can you give if you have nothing to give? So there, self-love to me, there is uh, self-love, and then number two is acceptance. Acceptance, it's in my song. It says acceptance is the key to a beautiful beginning. With acceptance we can navigate all life's challenges.
So a lot of the audience doesn't know yet that Gina has written a number of songs. It's not something she set out to do. She didn't say, "Oh, I want to go on America's Got Talent or Philippines Got Talent and become a success." She didn't say, "Oh, I want to be a star when I grow up as a singer." It's just something that in her journey she wrote songs that really were a voice for these children that were going through disability. What song are you referencing there?
No, but see, first of all, I didn't know that I can write songs. I didn't know, Dale, to be honest. You know, I didn't even know that I had that talent. Even now, I don't consider that as a talent. I didn't even know that I have it in me to write a
Well, I'm
song.
talking to my audience. I'm gonna play a couple of these songs, and you'll see that she definitely has talent, and it's such a blessing. Anyway, go ahead, Gina.
And then, when my kids were growing up, we had therapies here, therapy there, occupational therapy, speech therapy, music therapy. So, I drive for them. No, I bring them from one therapist to the other. And while waiting, I have nothing else to do. So I started writing, whatever it is, It's very, like you said, very organic. I write. And then I showed it to my friend, and she said, "No, why can't we come up with a song?" I said, "No, I cannot even put a melody into it." And he said, "No, just try. Let's hum." We started humming, writing, and then, wow, it's possible. So, and then I contacted a friend who helped me arrange the song. He's a very good songwriter, singer and songwriter. And then he helped me put everything together. So that's how it became into a CD at that time. We didn't have USB yet, so it was a CD.
So, is this the CD that you're talking about? The one that I have on the screen here?
Yes, those are my two boys when they were, younger, and the cover design was done by one of my therapists.
Wonderful. And for those of you that are listening to this audio podcast, I'm going to ask Gina to kind of give the title, because if I do it, it's in Tagalog and I will butcher it. but Gina, can you share a little bit and describe the elements on the face of the CD for those of listeners that aren't able to be blessed with seeing it?
Oh, those are my two boys. And then the title of the CD, it's in Tagalog, but most of my songs are in English. So it says Mga Awiting Alay sa Autismo. It's songs offer. No, it's a song for autism. It's just as simple as that. So then, one of the songs there which I like, it's called. No, most of the songs are happy songs, and then one of the songs there that I really like is titled "Why God." So it's from a point of view, or from the perspective of a child with autism talking to God. So I was trying to talk to God, that God, why am I? Why am I not normal? Were you busy designing other children while you were making me? So that's the storyline. But it's a happy
Yeah,
song.
I know that, Gina, when you were explaining this song to me, it really touched my heart because,
Thank you.
for the audience who's listening, the words, I just read a couple of the words, and it says, "A home is a place where I can be me. A home." Oh, that's Hope at Home.
I just hope, but
Why,
that's okay. Go
why
ahead.
God? Sorry, I was reading the wrong one, but here it is. It says, "Oh God, please give me a reason why I'm not a normal person. Do you really want me alone in a complicated world of my own? I don't understand what people say. I cannot participate. I cannot participate when others play. Is it them or is it me, basically, who can't look in the eyes? All the people look at me, but the real me they can't see. Please, God, hear my cry, my plea that someday I will break free. The real world I can get to see, to be with my family. And what touched me so, so deeply when you and I first spoke, Gina, about this song is I placed myself in the
Yeah.
perspective of a child with autism, and I began, and I've never done that before, and it really, I I found myself asking, why, God, were you distracted when you made me? Did
Yeah.
these cries of a little child of why am I this way? I think there's a lot of adults even listening to this program that maybe in your life you haven't dealt with autism, maybe you've not dealt with disability, but in your life you felt different, you felt afraid, you felt put down or struggling. And the whole purpose of this podcast is to encourage people to really see the unique value they have and allow God to live, love, and really to help bring you out of that place of holding back your dream. And I just want to encourage you that all whoever's listening to this podcast right now, Gina, I just take a moment because I feel like when God moves, I like to speak that way, and I'll just say there's such an anointing on what you're doing, and I want to speak to someone who's out there listening to this podcast right this very moment. You felt rejected, you felt cast out. Maybe you do have autism. Maybe you have Asperger's. Maybe you have another disease. Maybe you struggle with how you fit into society. And I want you to know that you are special, you are unique, and you
Yeah.
are a blessing. You are a blessing beyond your disability. Gina, tell us more. I mean, this is just so fascinating, so amazing, and it's so touching.
And I would like to add to what you said, Dale. It's beautiful. You said it's very heartwarming, but I just would like to add that in your darkest moment, that's where you find so much love, and that's where you find God.
Yes, it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
We talk about the good times, and we talk about how the sun is shining in other places, but
Yeah.
we very rarely, we if we use a Bible story, we know that King David was in a cave. He was
Yeah.
hiding. He lost everything. His son was trying to hunt him down and kill him. He had lost his family. He had lost his soldiers, and here he is in this cave. And he, at that moment,
Yeah.
when he was in his most despair, he wrote some of the most beautiful songs.
Yeah.
For example, "Hear my cry, attend unto my prayer, and lead me to the rock that is higher than I." He said, "Oh, my precious soul." He stirred himself up. And I think that a lot of times, well, matter of fact, Anna is a flight attendant, right? And I always say this, when you're flying an airplane and it can be rainy underneath and the sky is gloomy, but if you're in that airplane and you rise and you rise and you rise, you come and you break through the clouds, you find that above you is this beautiful, beautiful sunshine, this beautiful, beautiful skies, and all it's an illusion, right? You have these clouds beneath you that are lying to you. The sun is still shining, and there's a beautiful blessing there.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful words, Dale. Beautiful.
Yeah. So Gina, so tell me, I'm hearing your story. You've come through this. You were raised well. You had a great or a blessed education. You got married to a wonderful man. You had two children that in all of a sudden inserted struggle, challenge, and disability into your life that you didn't ask for, but you did ask for. The
Yeah.
meaning the blessing of God came through these two wonderful, beautiful boys. And through that, you had to struggle, you had to learn, you had to navigate the challenges as a couple and find your way to survive. But that
Yeah.
did more, didn't it? You now have taken your life and dedicated your life to so many amazing endeavors. Tell us a little bit about the journey and where you are now and what has brought you there and what you're doing.
No, again, like I said, everything happened unexpectedly. Uh, when my sons became functional, people started coming to me asking, "What did you do? What did you do?" So I started guiding them, helping them out. And by the time I realized it, I was talking into, small groups, then bigger groups. It got bigger and bigger. Then my husband told me, no, if you want to do that, why don't you formalize it? Go and get education. And I said, no, I already know what I'm talking about. And besides, I'm too old to go back to school. I said, I'm too, and he said, no, you're not, no one is too old to go back to school. And then we have this doctor who became, our friend. And he has been telling me, go take your master's in special education because, you know, I think there is something there for you. And I said, no. I refused several times, Dale. But you see, again, like God has a way of, putting things together. One day I visited him, this doctor of mine at the University of the Philippines, where he was a professor at the time. And he told me, okay, since you're here, why don't you apply for your master's degree? I said no. And then what he did, he took an application form, he filled it up for me. Then I was forced to sign it. So I signed it. And then he said, okay, you come on this date for your entrance exam. I went without studying and I said, no, it's okay. I will fail anyway. So I took the exam. I didn't care. And I went to Europe with my husband. And then in one of our, trips there, I received an email saying that, wow, I passed. So I said, oh God, what are you trying to tell me? I'm
Wow.
not prepared. I know nothing. I don't have any education background because my undergrad was Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. So I don't know how I passed.
Wow.
Me. So I said, I don't know anything about education. Nothing. I really, again, I went to school. I said, okay, it's okay. I'll try again. If I fail in my first semester, okay. Then I did well. And then again, one thing led to another until I finished my master's degree in special education. But then I said, no, this is not enough. If I really want to help, I want to help all the way. And in the Philippines, we don't have, a lot of behavior analysts. So I took up again another master's at the University of Massachusetts. That's where I took my master's in curriculum and instruction, major in applied behavior analysis. So see, as you see there, again, being a teacher was not even in my radar. Okay, it was not. Okay, but however, their condition or their disabilities, it served as a catalyst for me to examine my priorities. So there. So again in my journey with autism, I was so overwhelmed by the diversity of issues and behaviors that needed to be addressed. So a lot of parents like me, we were so confused that we don't know what to do. We don't even know where to start. So this is the reason why I pursued special education. This is there to respond to the rising demand for reliable information and intervention. So if you can see, a lot of parents are very vulnerable. So they are at the mercy of the professionals, whatever, because I've been there. Whatever they say, okay, I will go, I will do it without me realizing if I'm doing the right thing or not. So initially, or in my journey, I've had a lot of trials and errors with autism because no one guided me. And I said, okay, if I can only again guide one family at a time, then that would be very nice. That would be very nice. So that's how I
So
started.
so tell us what as you made this shift, you began to set your course of your life in a direction to help families, to help
Yes.
children that have autism,
Yes.
and became what you call, correct my phrasing here, you became an autism advocate, or an advocate. You started an advocacy for autism. Is that correct?
Yes, first I started as an advocate. So we speak on behalf of children with autism. Uh, how? Through, because in my case, being an educator, I give autism awareness seminar to parents, and I also help teachers design effective curriculum that are evidence based, okay, that are data driven and evidence based. And aside from that, I also assess and design programs for children with special needs.
That is so amazing. You've taken your pain and you've developed it into delivering your purpose. Like you've taken your pain, turned it into purpose. And I love that you are now engaged in helping others be educated. But that's not all you've done, Gina, right? Gina has done an amazing. She does a training. She helps with a global certification to help teachers who are dealing with special needs children. And a little bird told me you have a school in the Philippines that you have funded to start. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's a small school because again I left Cagayan Valley. I left to Gigarao in the, I think, late 80s, and then I came back after 25 years. So when I came back, I was invited to be a guest speaker in one of the special schools there. Then when I was into Gigarao, I noticed that there was no uh, private there was no private special school. We had no they have public schools, but the teachers are not equipped to handle children with special needs because they lack
Mm,
the training. I felt so sad because they have the heart. Okay, they are very kind, they're very smart, they know their craft, but again it's not suitable for children with autism. And in the whole Cagayan Valley, there is no special education course. They have education courses, but not special education. So I went there, I started training teachers, and then we put up the school, we put up a school. Again, it's just for, advocacy purposes. So there, it's called Shapes International School. It's, again, it's the curriculum is international, and all the materials are all international standards. Why? Because I want the people in Tugigaraw to experience quality education that is evidence based, and that is not only affordable, no, it's almost free. But again,
so
in yeah,
So Gina, so for those audience that are listening to the audio and don't have the privilege of seeing what I'm displaying here, I have a picture of the school that is on the screen, and I'll read the caption here. It says the first private SPED school in SPDE school in Cagayan Valley that will offer free functional academics to adults with special needs and free evidence-based practices and programs to parents with financial difficulties. And that Gina, you are the president and the COO of that school. And I love this. Your dream is for every person with disability to live a life that is full of dignity. I find that very beautiful, very elegantly spoken. What does it mean to be evidence based, or
evidence
explain?
based, it should be data driven, it should be proven effective scientifically, it should be scientifically proven effective, and we have data to back up its effectivity. So
So
all decisions, like me, when I do my assessment, I don't give recommendation based on what I think, based on what I know, but what I do is I use different evidence-based tools to check the data, to assess and evaluate the data. And based on that data, I make my decision. So all the tools,
so this is available to the students and to the parents and so on that are a part of this school program. You know, I love when we talked about this previously. I love your heart. Like,
thank
this is the
you.
way you funded this school, the way you've given to this school, and I want my audience to know that this is not just a mission, but this is it's so much more than a mission. It's a purpose. It's something that God has given you as a mission, and in that, even coming through COVID, you had shared with me that like you did an amazing thing. You basically made the school tuition free for all of the students, so that no one had to worry during the COVID outbreak and pandemic, that they didn't have to worry. They could. So for 2 years, you paid the operating expenses out of your very own pocket. Is that's what I remember speaking to you about?
Thank you, Dale. Actually, I feel so shy to discuss about this, but
That's why I said it, because the thing is this. I want my audience to know that they can both support you They can also get information, and you'll help with them with information if they have autism children in their families, or maybe they're a mother or a father that has an autistic child. But mostly important, it says a lot about your heart and the passion you have to really. You're not just saying, you're putting your money where your mouth is, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, because during the COVID, I mean, financially, we were all affected. We were all affected, and I didn't want my students to stop their intervention and their therapy
Yeah.
program. So, and I don't want them to regress either, because we work so hard to where they are now, behaviorally, and I don't want them to regress. So my principal and I discussed about this, and we said, yeah, we will try to waive their tuition and fees for 2 years, for 2 years. And I don't mind, no, I don't mind if financially we will suffer, as long as they will not suffer. And God has sustained us, throughout the 2 years. We were able to come up with funding internationally, and we're very glad. God has a way of helping us. And
Yeah, it's
then
beautiful.
I also told my principal that, when we are old and gray, I want to look at COVID, and, with a smile, that at least we made a positive impact during these times.
Well, it's so beautiful. So, is the school available for other students, or is it a how do you process the intake of students, or is there an intake? And what are your visions for the future for that school? Do you have a vision or a desire to expand it, or
No, actually, my of course, I want. I really don't know if to expand or not, but I want it to grow. I want it to
yes,
grow academically, more than structurally. I
yeah,
want it. I want it to grow academically. That's why we continuously develop, our program, teachers training. The training is there because, Dale, I want to give a quality education. It's not just education, but it's a quality education that could equal, uh, international program. That's
yeah,
number one. Number two, I also have a program for overseas Filipino workers, because, worldwide there are a lot of Filipino overseas workers, and sometimes they have children with autism. And because where they are, bringing their child to school or getting therapy is so expensive. And what they do is they send their families back to the Philippines for their kids to study. And I don't like that to happen. I want to preserve the family unit. So what I do is I offer online therapy program for them. So instead of them
beautiful.
bringing their kids to the Philippines, I want them to stay where they are. And I have a lot of students in the Middle East and some part of Asia,
Is
wherein
that
we
a
all,
is that a cost-based program? So they basically pay to participate in that program, or
but it's very, very minimal, Dale, because see, I also learned this, that when you give something, you have to see to it that the receiver has an equity, a little equity, because if they don't have equity,
yeah,
they don't take
yeah,
it seriously.
yeah.
They don't take it seriously. I used to give free therapy. I used to give free seminars, but they don't take it seriously. So at least they have a very, very little equity on what they receive, so they learn to value it.
It's
And
wonderful. It's so wonderful.
yeah,
It's resources, right? It's just having
yeah,
tools in your hands to be able to be to survive and navigate these challenges. Um, Another thing that we've spoken about is you do seminars, and you
yeah.
do a global or international certification program to help teachers. And can you tell us a little bit more about that program?
Okay, there is a program which we call Applied Behavior Analysis Technician, and this is where I teach therapists, teachers, or parents who wants to learn about applied behavior analysis. So as of today, I am the only certified U.S. coursework provider in the Philippines. So meaning those who take my course, the entry level is a 40-hour program. Those who take my course, once they finish the course, they will take a certification exam in the US online. And once they pass that, they get a US certification and they can use that worldwide. So because
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So it's available to anyone
it's
across the
available.
world.
Yes.
And what can somebody do with that certification again? Remind us.
Now with
What does
that
that help?
certification, they can do they can be a service provider, meaning they can implement a behavior analysis program, whether home-based, center-based, or school-based. So meaning they can, in short, or where in layman's term, they can teach children with special needs, no? Not only autism, but children with behavioral issues, how to function, how to, again, function effectively in a natural setting. So by
So beautiful, so beautiful. um Again, with everything that you've done, there's so many things. I told you, I'm so proud of your courage. I'm so impressed and inspired by your courage. I think you've taken, I've said it before earlier, you've taken your pain and turned it into purpose. You've allowed God to turn burden into blessing. You've taken so much and you have chosen to see the good and the blessing and the purpose in the middle of the struggle. And I
yeah,
find that that is just a unique trait. Many people struggle, and I think one of the elements that I've tried to teach or to share with people is that one of the first things you must do in the middle of a struggle is to find things that you're grateful for, is to turn your attitude and kind of do an about face, turn your attitude around, and
yeah,
really choose to see good, choose to believe good, choose
yeah.
to honor, and choose to bless. And I think that that's what I'm hearing from you. You are just really just inspiring us. If somebody wanted to connect with you, Gina, how would they do that? What would, if they had questions, do you have ways for them to communicate with you?
Social media, my messenger or through email.
Wonderful. And for those of you who are listening, I will provide that here momentarily. But those of you who are watching, it'll be at the bottom of the screen here. I'm so again grateful for you coming on and sharing your life with us, sharing your story, sharing your inspirational message, Gina. It is such a blessing and such an honor for you to take time this my evening, your morning, and just to be with us. Are there any final thoughts that you'd like
Yeah.
to share with the audience?
Again, first of all, again, Dale, I cannot thank you enough for having me. I really feel honored. Now, what I want to say is life is a matter of perspective. Okay, if you want to look at it as a problem, then it becomes a problem. If you want to look at it as a blessing, then it becomes a blessing. And again, whatever it is that you do, have the attitude of gratitude always, because God will always be there. You know, you're there for a reason. So you are there for a reason. Now, uh, having two kids with autism really is a blessing because I learn from them more than they learn from me, to be honest. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, because they taught me a lot of things: to be kind, to be humble, and to be happy whatever the situation is. And now if you ask me now, Dale, if you ask me, what did I learn in my journey with autism? Now, I will only answer you in one sentence. I learned that I am capable of loving unconditionally.
Mm, that is so beautiful, and I don't think there's any better words that we could bring this interview to a close. Wow. Would you say that again for the audience, please?
Yeah. First, I said that, if you ask me what did I learn in my journey with autism, I say that I learned to love unconditionally.
Love unconditionally.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Gina. We're so honored. I can't wait to have you on again. We'll look at doing this again and hearing from you and seeing what God has done and the miracles that He's performing in your life. Thank you for sharing your life with us. Thank you for sharing your message with us. Just, please keep us informed and updated on your journey.
Yeah, my pleasure. And to everyone, have a good day and enjoy the rest of the holidays.
Wonderful. Again, if you're listening right now, like and subscribe to the video, but most importantly, change your heart, change your focus, be grateful. And we thank you again, Gina, for being our guest. Until next time, this is No More Noise.
You've just experienced a powerful journey to unleashing your full potential. If you're an entrepreneur or just seeking freedom to do more and go further, remember, it's not just about tuning out the noise. It's about cranking up your success and amplifying your impact on the world. As we wrap up, I want to express my gratitude for being a part of this amazing movement. Your support fuels our mission to spread encouragement, crush limitations, and multiply the message of hope and inspiration. Now, here's your call to action. If today's episode resonated with you, don't keep this energy to yourself. Spread the love, share this podcast with your tribe, and let's grow our No More Noise warrior community. You can connect with us on Facebook at No More Noise Mission. Remember, this is a brand new mission, and we need your help growing our audience, expanding our influence, and building our community. So hit that like button, share it far and wide, and hit subscribe to keep that energy flowing in your life. Our mission: silence distraction, amplify success, and multiply the message. Together, we're rewriting narratives and smashing barriers in life and business. Stay pumped, stay motivated, and until next time, keep turning down the noise, turning up your success, and multiplying your unique message. You are the heartbeat of this movement. See you on the next episode of No More Noise.